Hello, folks. This is Jamal from Writers. War is good for. That's the question. Because right now, in real time, the United States is spending hundreds of billions on war, while millions of students sit in underfunded classrooms. So, what is war actually good for? And what are we giving up to pay for it? In fiscal year 2026, the United States is spending roughly 893 to 960 billion dollars on national defense, depending on how you count the full Pentagon and related national security budget. At the same time, federal spending on education is about $79 billion dollars through the Department of Education. Almost $1 trillion, dollars, and Trump was recently in the news asking for $150 billion dollars for the current war in Iran, and we only allocated $79 billion dollars for education. Let that resonate for a bit. That's already a massive gap. In addition, in 2025, Illinois residents paid roughly 200 to 250 billion in federal taxes, and about 30 billion of that went to military spending. 30 billion. At the same time, Illinois only receives around 3 to 5 billion in federal education funding, spread across schools, colleges, and student aid. So we spend roughly 200 to 250 billion dollars in federal taxes, but we only get 3 to 5 billion dollars in education. You can see the problems. Illinois reflects that imbalance. We understand that at the state level, we are supposed to pay the taxes that go to the vital and most imperative institutions, schools. But that is not pragmatic. I don't think the United States Congress, both the House of Representatives and the United States Senators or Senate, are really concerned about how educated we are. In fact, I think the opposite is true, but we can come back to that later. Let's look at the numbers because I still don't tell the full story because wars come with extra long term costs. Now let's step back to Iraq and Afghanistan. After the attacks of September 11, 2001, the United States entered a new era of war. In Afghanistan, the stated goal was to dismantle Al Qaeda and remove the Taliban government that they had provided it safe haven. What followed became the longest war in U.S. history, lasting 2 decades, with total costs estimated in the trillions of dollars, including military operations, reconstruction, and long term veterans care. In 2003, the United States invaded Iraq. In Iraq, reports show that over 500,000 children were murdered by the war criminals, the Bush administration. The justification of a false pretext was the presence of weapons of mass destruction and alleged links to terrorism. Those weapons were never found. The war instead turned into a prolonged occupation, insurgency, and state collapse. During the opening phase of the Iraq War, the military strategy included what officials called shock and awe, a massive air campaign designed to rapidly overwhelm Iraqi forces. Critics later argued that terms like collateral damage were often used as euphemisms for civilian casualties. Estimates of Iraqi deaths vary widely depending on methodology, with studies and reports ranging from hundreds of thousands to high figures when indirect deaths are included. The human cost, especially for civilians, remains one of the most debated and tragic aspects of the war. At the same time, private military contractors, mercenaries, including firms such as Blackwater, were heavily used to support U.S. operations. These contractors were involved in security, logistics, and combat zone protection roles, but their presence also sparked a major controversy, including allegations of excessive force and civilian harm, war crimes under international law. Legal frameworks for contractors were expanded during the war, and debates emerged over how they should be prosecuted when incidents occurred in conflict zones. Together, Iraq and Afghanistan created not only human and political consequences, but also massive long term financial obligations that continue today through veterans, healthcare, disability benefits, and interest on war related spending. Let's not say it, the big I and L words. Inflation, the reasons why we are paying higher for essential goods. And L, for losers, America. We lost that unjust, immoral war. It is a blood libel, blood stain on our U.S. history. So when you place these wars alongside domestic spending, the trade offs become even clearer. In 2026, the average American taxpayer is contributing thousands toward military spending compared to a much smaller share going toward federal education programs. That's not theory, that's reality. Now let's compare impact. A few weeks of high intensity military spending can equal nearly an entire year of federal education funding for low income students. That means war spending at scale directly competes with classrooms, teachers, and school infrastructure. So the question becomes, are we overinvesting in war and underinvesting in what actually builds the country? Now, to be fair, there's another side. Supporters of high defense spending argue that national security is non negotiable. They argue that military strength prevents larger wars and deters threats before they grow. That is a serious argument. But history shows that war is never just about budgets, it is also about power, ideology, memory, and independence. As Leopold von Ranke wrote in 1833, the position of a state in the world depends on the degree of independence it has attained. Some scholars argue that modern perceptions of global threats are shaped by imbalance in military power and political framing. As Flint Levert writes in his book, Going to Tehran, and I quote, today the United States spends almost 70 times more on defense than Iran does. Assertions that the Islamic Republic poses an offensive threat are baseless. To understand this fully, we have to go deeper into history, and we look at Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan together, a pattern emerges. War justified by security concerns by producing long term regional instability, massive expenditures, and unresolved political consequences. So we return to the question, war is good for security, power, deterrence, or is it quietly diverting resources away from education, opportunity, and the future? Because at the end of the day, every dollar spent on war is a dollar not spent somewhere else. We have military officers making more than teachers, folks. That's not right. We need a just society that cultivates doctors, engineers, lawyers, and teachers, not soldiers willing to kill and murder indigenous groups all over the world. The real litmus test is not whether we are going to create democracies around the world. It's a test to see if we're going to cater to the billionaire class, the elitists, the ultra rich, who have created this global privatization, stratification of the world's resources. It's the historical clash between the haves and the have nots. The military industrial complexes only focuses on power, privilege, and dominance, or what we like to call in academia hegemony and imperialism. Unfortunately, we, the taxpayers, pay the price. Our schools are failing. We're not creating the next generation of intellectuals, entrepreneurs, business owners. We have a society that is playing servitude to the billionaire class and the donors class. And if things stay the same, I'm afraid we are only perpetuating the socio-economic classes that we are dealing with now. And the great divide of wealth distribution is clear for anyone to see. Last but not least, where a nation puts its money tells you exactly what it values. I hope you like this video. Please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you, and God bless you, and go out and change the world.